What happens when an undercover student uncovers a dark secret that leads to a shocking act of violence? Officer Zain adjusted his tie, the cheap polyester scratching at his skin. He wasn't used to such discomfort. He was used to the weight of his holster, the reassuring coolness of his badge. Now, his only armor was a carefully constructed lie. He was Hamza Al-Afrit, a new student at Al-Furqan High School, and his mission was to bring down a drug ring that had its claws sunk deep into the school's underbelly. The briefing room had reeked of stale coffee and desperation. The faces of the task force were etched with worry, frustration etched into their features. The city was in the throes of an unprecedented drug crisis, its youth falling prey to a deadly cocktail of synthetic narcotics. Al-Furqan High School, they suspected, was a hub for this illicit trade. Zain volunteered for the undercover operation without hesitation. It was dangerous, reckless even, but Zain wasn't driven by duty or ambition. He was driven by the ghost of a boy named Mohammed, his younger brother, whose life had been tragically claimed by the very drugs Zain was now tasked with eradicating. The weight of his mission pressed down on him. He wasn't just an officer anymore. He was a brother seeking justice, a soldier waging a personal war. This wasn't just another assignment, this was personal. The transformation was startling. Gone was Zain, the seasoned officer with calloused hands and a weary gaze. In his place stood Hamza, a lanky teenager with carefully styled hair and a disarming smile. His apartment had become a stage, littered with props, graphic novels, basketball shoes, and a guitar he barely knew how to hold. Language tutors had drilled him on slang and colloquialisms, painstakingly erasing years of disciplined speech. He practiced in front of the mirror, perfecting the art of nonchalance, the subtle swagger of youth. He had to blend in, become invisible, a ghost in the halls of Al-Furqan. His reflection stared back at him, a stranger in familiar clothes. He felt a flicker of doubt, a whisper of unease. Could he pull this off? Could he fool not just the seasoned criminals he was hunting, but also the teenagers he was pretending to be? He shoved the doubt down, replacing it with a steely resolve. He had to do this, for Mohammed, for the countless others who had fallen victim to the city's drug scourge. He wasn't just playing a role. He was embodying a purpose, a mission. Al-Furqan High School was a cacophony of noise and energy. Zain, now fully immersed in his Hamza persona, navigated the crowded hallways, his senses on high alert. He absorbed everything, the snippets of conversations, the knowing glances, the subtle shifts in demeanor. He was a predator, stalking his prey, waiting for the right moment to strike. He had dossiers on each of his targets. Ali, the charismatic leader with a silver tongue and a ruthless streak. Al-Dami, the muscle, his imposing physique a constant reminder of the violence that lurked beneath the surface. Fayez, the brains, his sharp mind a labyrinth of cunning and deceit. And Hamoud, the youngest, his vulnerability both a shield and a weapon. He observed them from a distance, studying their movements, their interactions, their weaknesses. He picked up on the whispers, the rumors of deals gone wrong, of turf wars brewing, of a hierarchy built on fear and intimidation. He knew he had stumbled upon something bigger, more sinister than he had imagined. He felt a surge of adrenaline, a mixture of fear and excitement. He was in too deep to turn back now. He was Hamza Al-Afrit, and he was here to stay. The memory of his brother was a constant companion, a bittersweet ache in his chest. Mohammed, with his infectious laughter and boundless energy, had been the light of their family. Zain could still picture him, hunched over a chessboard, his brow furrowed in concentration, or dribbling a basketball with an effortless grace that belied his age. He remembered the day Mohammed disappeared, the frantic search, the agonizing wait for news, any news. The news, when it finally came, was a hammer blow to their souls. Mohammed had been found in an alleyway, his lifeless body a testament to the devastating effects of the drug that had ravaged his system. He was just a boy, a child robbed of his future by a poison masquerading as pleasure. The memory fueled Zain's determination, hardened his resolve. He wouldn't let another family endure the pain, the loss, the utter devastation that had become his reality. He would bring these criminals down no matter the cost. He owed it to Mohammed, to the city, to himself. Section 5. A web of suspicion. Zain, as Hamza, played the role of the new kid, the naive observer. He feigned ignorance, asking questions that seemed innocent on the surface but were carefully calculated to elicit information. He listened more than he spoke, absorbing details, piecing together the intricate web of the drug ring's operations. He befriended classmates, shared lunches, and endured tedious history lectures, all the while keeping his true purpose hidden behind a mask of indifference. He felt the weight of their gazes, the scrutiny of their unspoken questions. They were suspicious, wary of the newcomer in their midst. He couldn't blame them. Trust was a luxury he couldn't afford, not in this world of shadows and deception. He was walking a tightrope, balancing his desire for justice with the very real danger of exposure. One wrong step, one slip of the tongue, and his cover would be blown, his mission jeopardized, the stakes couldn't be higher. Section 6. Earning their trust. Weeks morphed into months, and Zain's life became a tangled mess of half-truths and carefully constructed lies. He excelled in his classes, showcasing a sharp intellect that belied his supposed apathy. He even joined the school's soccer team, his athleticism a surprising asset in his undercover persona. He slowly, meticulously, earned the trust of his classmates. He listened to their problems, offered advice, and shared their laughter. He became a fixture in their lives, a confidant, a friend. But beneath the surface, Zain remained vigilant, always aware of the dangers lurking beneath the veneer of normalcy. He began to notice subtle shifts in the behavior of his targets. Their casual conversations were peppered with coded language, their movements more calculated, their eyes constantly scanning their surroundings. They were growing bolder, more reckless, their confidence fueled by a string of successful deals. Section 7. A day of chaos. The day began like any other, the air thick with the scent of stale coffee and teenage angst. Students shuffled through the hallways, their voices a dull roar against the backdrop of lockers slamming and bells ringing. Zain, his senses heightened, detected a change in the atmosphere, a palpable tension that hung in the air like a shroud. He noticed the increased security presence, the unusually high number of teachers patrolling the hallways, whispers of a raid, of an informant within their ranks, circulated through the student body, fueling paranoia and distrust. Zain's pulse quickened, his gut churning with a mixture of anticipation and dread. He had to act fast, but he couldn't blow his cover. He needed to maintain his facade, to blend in with the chaos while simultaneously trying to control it. He was caught in a maelstrom of his own making, a puppet master struggling to control the strings of his increasingly volatile creation. Section 8. The stabbing. The piercing shriek ripped through the air, shattering the illusion of normalcy. Zain spun around, his blood turning to ice as he saw a figure crumple to the ground, a crimson stain blooming on his white shirt. Screams filled the hallway as students scattered, their faces contorted in terror. Adrenaline surged through Zain's veins as he pushed through the panicked crowd, his eyes scanning the scene. There in the center of the chaos stood Al-Dahmi, his face twisted in a mask of rage, a bloodied knife clutched in his hand. In that split second, Zain's carefully constructed world shattered. He was no longer Hamza, the carefree student. He was Officer Zain, sworn to protect and serve, and his instincts took over. Section 9. The Aftermath. The following hours were a blur of flashing lights, sirens wailing, and the metallic scent of blood heavy in the air. Zain, his cover blown, found himself torn between his duty to apprehend the suspects and the knowledge that his actions had plunged the investigation into chaos. He watched as paramedics wheeled the stabbing victim away, his white shirt now stained a horrifying crimson. He hadn't been able to get a clear look at the victim's face, but a knot of dread tightened in his stomach. Had he just jeopardized his mission and worse, cost an innocent life? As the police cordoned off the crime scene, Zain found himself face to face with Agent Khalil, his handler, his face an unreadable mask of fury and disbelief. The weight of his gaze, heavy with unspoken accusations, bore down on Zain. He had questions to answer, choices to justify, and as the sun began to set, casting long shadows over the chaotic scene, Zain knew that the true test of his loyalty, his resolve, and his humanity had only just begun.